Dianbai-style Congee. That's what the restaurant is famous for. And the best thing? In this video, we're going to see one of the posher parts of Shenzhen and one of the older parts of Shenzhen. Let's begin with the former, the chic Coco Park at the Futian CBD, a ritzy megaplex 2 blocks from the Ritz-Carlton and a block from the Ping An Financial Center. Currently the world's 5th tallest building by some measures. We'll spend the afternoon right below this edifice at a swanky shop that sells 1,000 yuan teas. My name isn't Hillary, so I don't have that swank. Instead, we sip on nice but cheaper teas served in cognac-inspired glassware. This isn't Gao Talong, it's oolong at Teastone. Cheers. The shop features over 100 types of teas, spanning a wide range of prices and wide spectrum of colors. This arsenal is big enough to please the majority of old-school connoisseurs, while aesthetics is hip enough to entice new consumers. Another laudable example of how this young metropolis contributes to the continuation of traditional culture. I've said in my earlier Shenzhen videos, this city doesn't have much traditional heritage. But in my humble opinion, and based on very limited knowledge, Shenzhen doesn't have much of its own culture. And that's why many folks call this a cultural desert. However, you gotta put that into perspective because China has such a long and rich history. Shenzhen might be relatively humble in ancient times, but it too has been inhabited for thousands of years. Let us now visit one of the city's older extant settlements, Shangxiasha, a Chengzhongchun or urban village. During the Southern Song dynasty around 800 years ago, the Huang clan established a village here, as enshrined in this ancestral temple. Shangxiasha has since then been a birthplace of prominent individuals. For instance, a descendant of the founder converted nearby regions into farmlands arranged in a grid configuration known as Futian, which can be homophonically interpreted as blessed fields. That's one theory behind the naming of Futian district, where Shangxiasha is located. Futian is one of the most developed areas in China, but due to reasons like historical difficulties in aligning rural collective land ownership with urban planning, the village grew into its current form decades ago and has retained this old form in stark contrast to the glitzy new estates that have sprung up in the surrounding. Some media label such villages as squalid, insanitary, etc. But Shenzhen's remarkable performance against COVID demonstrates that these urban villages, though densely populated and intensely developed, aren't the unregulated, vile slums or ghettos they are made out to be in some media. Actually, non-villagers often come here looking for good grubs that have stood the test of time. Many of them probably former villagers themselves. This seafood place is famed for pancai basin cuisine, one of a handful of Shenzhen local specialties. I briefly talked about this in my first Shenzhen video. Actually, Shangxiasha hosted a massive pancai banquet that purportedly set a Guinness World Record. Another icon is this decade-old eatery famous for duck congee from Dianbai district of Maoming City. Dianbai-style duck congee. That's what the restaurant is famous for. And the best thing is free. Preparation method for the duck congee involves cooking the fowl and rice in separate steps. Water used in boiling the former is saved and then used as a sort of duck broth to boil the latter, along with other ingredients such as duck blood. What happens to the duck? Of course it's eaten, and not only the meat, but also the offal. Jiangchong chao ya changza, duck intestine and offal stir-fried with ginger and spring onion. Yeah, I know intestine is an offal, but the dish name isn't redundant at this restaurant because the standard offering contains only intestine. What I like about such small shops is the flexibility, and upon request they added other organs such as yazhen, duck gizzard. This looks like junba, it's basically the esophagus. So we have lots of things going on here. All sorts of different chewy, rubbery textures. The duck innards are so darn good, so ducking good. But if you really can't do offal, there is regular duck, ordinary in form, extraordinary in taste. White cut duck, again, boiling or cooking. Perfect with duck congee. It's perfect with the duck congee because they were both cooked in the same water. The waterfowl is eaten in many parts of China. Most well-known among foreigners is likely Peking duck. Recently, I did a video on Suzhou's braised duck. Even more recently, I did a video on Nanjing's salted duck. But such white-cut duck is chiefly a Cantonese thing. To be fair, it's also found in neighboring Guangxi and Hainan. Like this white-cut jiaji duck we had in Sanya of Hainan. White-cut is a method that stresses the natural flavor of the ingredient. But just what is baiqie, white-cut? Baiqie is white-cut chicken, which is basically cooking chicken in plain water or very slightly seasoned water. Not only do we have white-cut duck on the table, we have white-cut chicken as well. Baiqie, white cut, similar to other white techniques like baijiu or white boiling introduced a few videos ago, is simple cooking with little or no seasoning before serving. It's all about the ingredients and timing. The white cut duck might be scarcely found elsewhere, but white cut chicken is found in other regional cuisines, such as that of Shanghai. There are many nuances like the source and the sauce. In terms of the source of ingredients, I previously mentioned that chicken from the adjacent city of Zhanjiang is quite acclaimed. Said chicken originated from Huaixiang of Xinyi, which was merged into Maoming City in 1983. Perhaps that's the variety of chicken served here. In terms of the sauce, no dip is provided on the side for either bird, but I think one of the more unique characteristics is what feels like a profuse use of peanut oil and galangal as condiment. I've heard this is a common style in places like Huizhou. Huizhou is a city administered by Maoming, and one of its gastronomic symbols is tongsui or tangshui in Mandarin, literally sugar water, a dessert soup mainly identified with Cantonese cuisine. After the meal, we will saunter around Shangxiasha and eat at not one but two tongsui stores. Though delicious, they aren't comparable to a Huizhou sugar water shop in another urban village that we visited a day or two prior. Yep, a tongsui video will be coming soon. 再见